When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham."
My name is Christ David Peachy. I remember when I was growing up, I was in the 8th grade, I had a principal who was a good principal, but I thought he sort of had me tagged and wanted to expose me to the rest of the students in my class. He asked us to stand, and he was talking about, the New Testament, or the 10 Commandments say that thou shalt not kill. Now he said, what would you do? Is there anyone in here that would not go to war if they were asked to? If the rest of you may sit down. That put me right out there. I didn't sit down, and well, he said, it says thou shalt not kill, but that means your neighbors around home here. That doesn't mean over in another country across the waters and so on. In the New Testament, it's just, love one another over and over. Even love your enemies. And I don't think that refers to just a church talking about our brothers and sisters. Because how many of us have real enemies that persecute us and say all manner of things against us and like that in the church? I think this was broad, that we are to love our enemies and pray for our persecutors, you cannot. I don't think you can truly love and go out and kill a person. It was at the end of a school day, and for some reason or other, my friends and I were sitting in the classroom, and we were just discussing different things, and then pretty soon they turned on me about going to war, not going to war, and of course, being a 13, 14, 15-year-old boy, I didn't have the answers for them like I wished I would have had. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I just thought I lost all my friends, just suddenly. Mm-hmm. Mm. And, so that evening I went home. That evening, and I felt bad all evening. I was out mowing lawn, and I really felt bad. I lost my friends overnight.
Mm-hmm. And how did you think that you lost your friends? Did they actually leave you in the classroom, or was something they said, or?
Well, it was just their attitude. Yeah, what they said,
Uh-huh.
And the one person, of course, I knew that my dad worked in a mill, was the manager of a mill, and he said, and somebody comes up there and robs your dad, goes in the mill, does something. What's he do? He calls up the police, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. I said yes, and I didn't know what to answer him on that one, and because I know there has to be order in this world. Someone has to carry that we have order. But those things. But I often wished afterwards that I would have thought the way I do now, and I wouldn't have been so upset. I don't believe if I'd have thought it through the way I do now, And that is that those boys did not have the teaching that I had. And I could not expect them to believe the way I do.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have made a difference, I think. It had come to the place where I needed to realize that I needed to forgive them for the way that they weren't real. The ones that I talked to there in the classroom, they weren't violent or anything, treated me, beat me up or anything like that. It was just talk. And yeah, I thought about it many times since, and I thought to myself, those guys weren't brought up the way I was and taught from the Bible. They were. I shouldn't have felt so bad, And in a sense, I forgave them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, then another time, he sent me down to the post office to get the mail. And I didn't think about it, but I think he was setting me up then, too. I went down to the post office to get the mail for him. When I got into the post office, why, it was just full of people in there. They were waiting for the postmaster to change the mail and get all filled up, ready for them to. And while I was standing in there was a a man in there that had some boys who were serving in the army. I think one or two of them were killed, and he was really upset. He saw me standing there, and he says, "These Mennonites, they're good for nothing. They won't fight, and they're just they just ought to take them out and kill all of them." That I realized later on that they didn't have the teaching from the Bible about loving and that the government does ask us to do things that we are to obey them and respect them, but when they ask us to do things that are against our convictions based on the scriptures, then I think we need to say we need to obey God rather than men. We need to expect to take the consequences of our decision not to go to the not to participate in the military, to go to war. When they ask us to, then we need to expect the consequences of that. And God will take us through it. He will be there with us. He'll take us through it, okay? He's promised to take care of us.
Is the cost of the risk worth the risk of the gain?